What's up, guys? How is everybody doing? Buster, good to see you. Sam and Essie Woods, good to see all you. And no, Essie Woods, I have not thrown Crumble in the bin. I just have to get this done so I can continue making videos on YouTube, and then it's back to Crumble after that. So that will be good. Langors, Jalmega, how's it going? Hope you guys are all doing all right. So today, what are we going to be doing? We are going to be parsing SVGs, which it's a little bit of a misnomer because we're not going to be doing all the parsing. Let me drag this over here. This is not what I want, though. Neither is that. We're not going to be parsing all of it because I do have a parser called TinyXML, which will do the XML parsing for us. And then we'll just be parsing this stuff, which is much easier to parse than getting through all the XML and stuff. So yeah. But that is the plan today. SVG parsing, IE parsing, XML. Yeah, not doing that. So we're technically just going to be doing like the paths and stuff and then kind of interpreting this stuff down here, which this turns out to just make, if we take a look in here, one of these things. So yeah, love your videos. Thanks, Buster. Yeah, hopefully I can actually start making them again soon. I'm not even going to make any promises because I said end of June I'd be releasing the video and that hasn't happened clearly. So who knows, maybe it's just like a whole summer thing where I'm like off for the summer, but then once fall starts up, I will be releasing regularly again. I just have to get this done and then that should be good. But yeah, I think that's what that specific SVG does, is makes this specific thing, which is just some math symbols, as you can see. So in Essie Woods, yeah, it's good to take a break from big projects every now and then. Absolutely. I'm excited to get back to it too. So hopefully soon. Alrighty, so why are we parsing these SVGs in the first place and stuff too? Well, first of all, I do want to have just a general SVG parser because it's useful to have and stuff, but also that's the only way we can do LaTeX because, or I guess it's technically pronounced LaTeX, but I will be saying LaTeX because that's what it looks like. So yeah. But anyways, we're doing this because this is like the easiest way to draw math equations, which will be a must, in my opinion. And it's really hard to do anything with LaTeX unless you have a LaTeX distribution, or LaTeX. I'm probably just going to say that. What I mean by that is I have MikTeX installed on my system. And so basically, you won't be able to use this unless you have LaTeX installed. So basically, I go ahead and I check. I say get the program installation directory for MikTeX, which goes and looks through your registry on Windows, and then it finds the installation directory. If it can't find it, then it warns I can't find it. Eventually, I'll look. I think there's like a couple other LaTeX distributions. I can't think of what they're called, but there's a few. Like I know there's MikTeX, and then there is, yeah, so MikTeX. I think there's something else too. Can't think of what it's called, but eventually I'll be checking for those too. And then like on Linux and Mac, I'll be checking for other things. But basically look for that. If you have it, then I just kind of set some stuff up. Make sure that you have the programs I need that you need to have associated with it. If you don't, I have like errors and stuff. And then anyways, that allows me to parse the LaTeX and create SVGs from it, which I'm doing right here. And I'll show off a couple other things with this too. Where is this project at so far too? I will pull this up so that we can kind of see what's happening. I see what the videos are half decent. I appreciate it. So the whole reason I started the parsing of LaTeX and stuff is because I started doing axes which require numbers, and I wanted the numbers to have actual like text and stuff, which unfortunately I want like mathematical text too for that, like the fonts that you use and stuff for that things. But yeah, Jomega links, these are the LaTeX distribution. Gabe, if I don't see the link, I won't read it. Yeah. Sam just got NFT ad on Twitch. Ooh, that's not good. It's like YouTube. They ran scam ads of Mr. Beast saying, go to this link and I'll give you $1,000. And I went to the link because I was like, what is this? And it was just a scam. I was like, that's cool. You said you made the animator in approximately 1.5 months. Yeah, it's been about 1.5 months since I released my last video. So it's like probably closer to 2 months now. No, 1.5, because I started, like, I was working on Crumble still for a little bit and didn't anticipate I was going to be doing this. So yeah, that's about right. But with this thing, like you can see, well, you can change the stroke color because that's stroke. So this is like an axis. You can also turn it into 3D. So we've got 3D axis there. It changes the dimensions and stuff to some defaults, but yeah. And then you can like increase how many ticks there are by increasing like the range. So this is a range 0 to 18, and it's centered on the center of the axis. I don't know. I might build something where you can like center it on a specific coordinate. Right now it just centers basically the whole thing. So like if I did -9 to 9, it's still the same thing. But yeah, that's why we need numbers, so you can actually see what's going on too. YouTube is very anti-adult content, but then it proceeds to show adult content ads. Like, yeah, for real. In my master's thesis, I had less to show for, that's for sure, which is 1 year. I don't know. I mean, this is like using a lot of libraries and stuff too to help me out. And I also had some of this pre-built beforehand because I had used this before. So it's not like I started from scratch completely. But yeah. You can also change stuff like this. So say I want to increment by steps of 2, I can do that. And it's supposed to increment by steps of 2, but I guess not. So that's something I have to change. You can see it also changes all my settings up there when I do that, which isn't cool. Eventually that will increment these by steps of 2 instead, but yeah. And then you can also just like make those longer or shorter if you want. So that's one of the big things that I've added. I've also added like 3D SVG objects and stuff. So you can see these are circles in 3D, and I've added rotations and stuff. So like it's just Euler rotations right now. I might change that in the future. But this one is rotated 35 degrees, which is kind of interesting. Okay, here we go. This one's rotated like 90 degrees. So if I were to change, not that one, maybe this one. Yeah, there we go. You can see that I'm rotating the circle there. But yeah, let me turn on my cursor highlighter too, so you guys can actually see what I'm clicking. So yeah, there's that. And then I've got the cube here. You can, of course, change the length of the cube, like make it bigger or smaller and all that stuff. You can also move it around, so I can like push it in 3D space, which is pretty cool. And those are kind of like the bigger things. I also fixed a couple bugs with the timeline where it would kind of break. So that is good. But yeah, and now I am working on latex parsing, which is kind of the last big thing. And then I've got like all the primitives set up so that I can really start doing more with this stuff. But yeah. And as you was, it doesn't matter. It's impressive. You work as well. Thanks. So now I've got this thing, which if we go ahead and delete these, what happens is if I run my program, you'll notice it launches immediately, and then all this stuff starts happening in the background. You can see it's running a bunch of programs with some command line arguments, and then we get these, which are SVGs containing the processed latex that we had there. So you get this one, excuse me, and then we get this one, which I think is just like a summation symbol and stuff. Yeah. Whoops, and I opened 2 of those. And you'll notice too, it's tightly packed, which is really nice. That's what you want. You don't want it to like go beyond the bounds of where it should be. So we can position these pretty precisely, which is cool. But yeah, so we get that, which is our summation symbol. And you'll notice these SVGs have weird names. These are just MD5 checksums of the latex itself. So I literally just do an MD5 on this text, and then that's the file name. That way it's reproducible and everything, and it's unique-ish. It shouldn't matter too much, and that way I can go ahead. So like if I were to relaunch this, it doesn't regenerate these. So you can see it's not doing anything because it knows that it's already got these cached. Eventually I'll have this cache like on a specific place wherever your project is. It'll cache all these files and stuff for you. Maybe it'll have a global cache so that it can like look to see if you've already done something in the past. I don't know. But yeah. I don't know why they would call this LaTeX. It looks like latex, and LaTeX makes me think of latex, you know? Which I guess this is spelled like you spell latex the same way as this, don't you? Latex definition. Let's just see. I'm curious. Yeah, latex. So Google says it's pronounced latex. Okay. So actually, everybody says latex, and Donald Knuth, I don't even think he made latex. He made tech, which is just TEX, and I don't even know if he pronounced it tech or tex. So whoever made this one was dumb, in my opinion, and called it something they shouldn't have. So anyways, yeah, you can do this, and you can, of course, change all these things, and it will change up the variable. So like if I were to change this to 5, it's going to regenerate that because it is now a new file. So we'll get a third file in here, which is going to be that modified thing. And you'll notice it creates a bunch of extra files and stuff too. That's just because in order to convert latex to SVG, you have to go through kind of a two-step process. So that's what's happening here. I run 2 programs. I run latex.exe, then I run dvi-svgm, which converts one of those output files to the correct output file. But yeah, SE Woods, have you like a whiteboard with YouTube video ideas, or are you running out? Oh no, I'm definitely not running out. It's just I need to finish this so that I can continue making them. So yeah, I've got plenty for the Minecraft series, and there's a whole list on that first episode with all of them. Jomega, you also have the discussion about GIF. I'm for a hard G because of the word gift. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I know that's definitely up for debate too. GIF. I think is definitely... I think the creator said GIF though. I remember we looked this up and stuff, but yeah. Okay, so we have these things and we can do this. Another interesting thing, this is all launched on a separate thread, which is kind of important. And let me just make sure that I'm not leaking any processes too. I don't think I should be. Yeah. Okay, so we're not leaking any processes too. I clean everything up once this finishes, which is good. And all that stuff. It times out after 25 seconds too. So if for whatever reason the process isn't responding for 25 seconds, it'll just time out and stop instead of waiting forever. But yeah, I might fix that up so that it just keeps running on a separate thread. I don't know, or allow you to increase the timeout if you need to or something. I don't know. Possibly do something like that. But yeah, what we can do too though is we can force it to be concurrent so you can see how the multi-threading actually helps. So if I force this to be current and I actually have to delete these. So it's going to start up immediately because it's just finding the cached files and not doing anything. But if we force it to be concurrent, you can see I just get a blank window that's not responding because it's doing all this stuff, which is very annoying. And then finally it responds. Not ideal whatsoever. So what I do is I just launch it on some separate threads using the thread pool. So if we go into here, you can see that we actually just go check and see if we have a cached file, which is what this does. If we don't, then I create a task and then I queue it up on the thread pool, and then that just goes ahead and runs all of that stuff for us. And I don't have to worry about like locking or anything like that because the file system kind of takes care of that for me with files, since we're writing to a file and just checking if a file is there or anything like that. Originally you was thou just because someone said it was thou. Doesn't mean we need to say it like that. I guess so. Okay, so we've got that. Now let's get into the meat of what today is going to be about. So I've got a library tinyxml2 in here. I have never used it. I just have it in there because it was with the original library I was going to use to parse the latex, which didn't work at all, and that's why I eventually went the route I did. I thought I had it open up here. I guess I don't. So tinyxml2, which is really nice. It's a single header, which I really like. Just one header file. Actually, I think it's one header, one CPP file. So it's still really nice, very easy to add, but I don't know how to use it. So let's just peruse this very quickly. Okay, uses UTF-8. That's fine by me. White space. Does anybody use UTF-16 except for Microsoft? Is that like, I don't even know. I think UTF-8 is like pretty standard when you're doing language support, but maybe UTF-16 is helpful for like emojis and stuff. I don't know. Yeah. SE Woods. Also, I installed Windows 11 and have not had any issues. If anyone is called, considering to do it. Oh, yeah. I've been considering going back to Windows 7. I don't know. Like, just because of, I don't know. I saw a video. I'm kind of curious. I saw a video of some guy complaining about Windows 10 not being able to highlight icons and stuff. It seems like my Windows 10 can do it. Okay. He was moving his mouse really fast and it couldn't like highlight the different things as he moved his mouse. So I was just curious. Anyways, sorry, that's an aside. I actually felt like the game graphics looked better. Might have been placebo. And UTF-16 is both a historic accident and for backwards compatibility. That's what I thought. I didn't think people really used it, but I don't know if like emojis and stuff go beyond 65,000 characters or whatever. But even then, UTF-8 is like code points, right? Or no. UTF-8 is characters, and then it maps to several code points that you composite into one character. But it uses several glyphs and stuff. At least from what I know, from what I've looked into when I was looking at all the fonts and stuff. But I don't know. Okay, anyways, white space preservation. I don't care about this. White space is preserved. Oh, okay, it's telling us that type of white space. That's cool. We really don't care about this stuff, though, because we're not actually parsing anything in between. We're just parsing the attributes here. So we just need like the ID and D, which is the path. And you can see we got some letters mixed in there. That's all part of the Svg spec, I guess. We'll kind of look into that in a minute. However, white space between elements is not preserved. Okay. White space collapse. Cool. Error reporting. Okay, so reports the line number of any errors in your XML document. We shouldn't have to worry about this, but it's good to hear that it does. I just wanted to see if it threw the errors or if it just reports. Seems like it just, okay. Yeah, it seems like it just reports, which is good. Okay, recognize predefined character entities. Cool. Printing, you can print a file. Okay, here we go. We're getting into the code finally. This is what I want. Print to memory. Cool. XML printer. Print without an XML document. Okay, I don't care about printing though. Okay, here we go. Load and parse. This is what I want. Cool, this is easy. So XML document doc, load file. Look up information. This is what I want to. Cool. Okay, so we load the file and then we can do navigate to the title using the convenience function. First child element play, first child element title. Name of play is title. Okay. Play first element title, first child to text, text node value. I think this should be all we need. Let's just load it and then we're gonna take a look at what we get and we'll kind of go from there. So let's go. I'm gonna add in. So we have LaTeX to SVG, and then we're gonna want something else to convert that SVG to an Svg object. So I've got this thing, which is an Svg object. And I'm using these as pointers for reasons. So I may as well do that so I can just forward declare anyways. So that's what we're going to do there instead of including something in here. So we want to return an Svg object, and I'm going to say parse I'm wondering if this is the best way. This is probably the best way. Yeah. I have this thing is math text, which is not anything big. All that does is it adds an align macro, which so if we take a look at the files that are generated, well, I guess we can't take a look at those. If we take a look inside of this, basically what that is math text thing does. So this is what it writes. It creates a text file. And it basically goes ahead and writes all this stuff out. And then if you say it's math text, it just adds a begin align and an end align, which just means that it's like a macro, I guess, in text. I don't know how to pronounce that. We're just going to go with text. Okay, so XBlaze XX. Hi, Gabe. I'm wondering, what is your opinion on Godot? I'm trying it because my PC isn't strong enough for Unity. From what I've seen, it looked pretty cool. I messed around with it a little bit too. I liked how snappy it was compared to Unity. Unity is slow on my computer, which is ridiculous. But yeah, I can kind of understand Unreal being slow on my computer, but when Unity is, I'm like, Unity is just a glorified 2D and like game engine creator thing. It's like, it should not be as slow as it is. So I think it's really cool. It looks like it should do all your needs. I don't know about 3D stuff. I think it's still kind of iffy there, but totally depends on what you need. Sam, Windows 7 was the best system. Later versions just obscure everything. Yeah. I am seriously considering going back to it instead of staying here at Windows 10. But I don't know. We'll see. Maybe one day. Okay, anyways, where am I putting that? I'm putting that below in it. See, thank you for your opinion. No problem. I'm sure other people might have some opinions too. So maybe some people has more like informed opinions. Unity just 2D, you hire something? No, I am not high. Unity sucks for 3D. If you're going to do 3D, do Unreal because it has actual pretty graphics and stuff. And from what I've heard, Unity's whole end of lifetime stages for games, I have used Unity for 3D. Look, so let's go to itch. Is it this? Nope. Nope. Here, if I just search it here. Probably pull it up. Okay, yeah. So this is a game that me and my brother and my friend made for Game Jam in 2019 in Unity. It's 3D, as you can see, and man, it was a pain. It just, Unity can't cope. I'm sorry. Its whole workflow sucks and everything. Compared to what I had in Unreal, it just felt clunky and gross, and I hated it. I don't know. Unreal just made everything so smooth, and it just worked, and it looked so much prettier. And this just, everything was like, why am I doing this? This is horrible. So, yeah. Well, I prefer custom engines. Unity isn't awful. I use Unity 3D professionally. I can say it's bad for big 3D games. Exactly. Yeah, it's like if you try and do anything more than just like the most basic platforming 3D stuff you can imagine, it's just horrible. Whereas Unreal, it feels like it was actually made for 3D games because it kind of is. Like they use it for Fortnite and they actually make good workflows and stuff that feels good. So yeah, City Skylines is done in Unity. Which one is that? I have not heard of that. Huh. Interesting. Is it like a Sims game? Is what it kind of looks like? But yeah, like I'm not saying you can't do it. I'm just saying it doesn't feel good too. And it's just like, it just, Unreal feels so much better. Especially for like the same level of bloat and everything that you get with both engines. It's like, why would I not use Unreal? I don't know. In Blueprints, you don't even need to use C++. You can use Blueprints, which are amazing. But yeah. Anyways, not trying to spark any big debates or anything. I think Unity is perfectly fine for 2D games and stuff. I just would never use it for a 3D game again. XBlaze, I will start on Godot. I have no experience on scripting. Which one should I use? C# easier to learn than GDScript, Python. I have not used GDScript, but I would probably say go with what they're customly supporting, which is GDScript, and just bite the bullet and learn it pretty quickly. But yeah. City Skylines is awesome. Yeah, I'll have to check it out. It looks pretty cool. And Essie Woods, we've never heard of this game. No, you have not. I made that in 2019 before I started the YouTube channel, I think. So that's probably why. But yeah, C# is also a big draw for Unity. I don't care about the language. I mean, like, you can use Blueprints in Unreal and it's the same thing. I don't know. There's just no reason, in my opinion, that you should be using it. But it's just my opinion. It really doesn't matter. So anyways, that is besides the point. We are parsing SVGs. So let's go ahead and include tiny XML, which I have. I thought I had. I hope I didn't get rid of it. Should have it inside of here. I think I just don't have the include directory. Tiny XML2. Ah, this is why, because they don't have an include directory. I hate when libraries do this. Just put like an extra tiny XML2 library or folder in here so I don't have to do like weird include stuff. Okay, anyways, we have to include this weird because I'm not going to pollute my include namespace with that stuff. So do that tiny XML2 / tiny XML2. Okay, whatever. That's how it's going to work. Okay, so we do that, and then do I have this copied? I do not. we'll do that, and we're going to take a look at what we get generated. Is this, do we have to be using some namespace or something? Doesn't look like it. We're not using any namespace. Wait, this is probably good too. Is under the zlib license. Is the zlib just like MIT in any way? Okay, so permissions granted, to alter, redistribute it, subject to origin software must not be represented. Okay, so and attribution. This notice may not be, okay. I don't see attribution, but I'm assuming attribution is there too. Okay. Anyways, though, so we do this XML document. Do I have to like, no. Let's go back up to where this was and see if they have everything namespaced. So, no, it doesn't look like it is. No. Okay, it doesn't look like it is. They call it XML document. Okay, they do. Yeah, tiny XML to there. So we can just do that. And now we should be good. Okay, cool. Yeah. So now we can do this. We're not loading Dream though. We are loading, let's see. We want to get string get MD, or I guess we'll just say like file name equals latex / plus get MD5 of that. And I might have to do plus .svg. Okay, we'll just do that. And then that will be our file. So we'll do that. Actually, does this? No, that does take in a C string. Okay, cool. So we'll do that. And I'm just gonna put like a statement here so that we can put a breakpoint right here. Okay, so let's see what happens. And I also need to call that function too. So yeah, we'll do that in a second. Sam, best thing about Unreal is that you can script in C++ and you don't need to rely on C# scripting. Never attended a game jam, but that looks quite fun. Yeah, Vandy Hex wasn't quite a game jam. It was, it's at this University Vanderbilt, which is kind of close to where I am at. And so it's more just like a general hackathon. Like it was just for general things, but it's still pretty cool. Sam, but Unity's more open to people since many people know C#. Exactly. Like I've got nothing against it. It's just I wouldn't choose it, you know? And XBlaze, I feel like Godot have less tutorials on other game engines. Like for Unity, yep, and that's another big thing too. And GameScape, no CMake, no, unfortunately not yet. I will get there eventually though. I have put it in my mind that I will switch, just have to get around to it. And XBlaze, gotta go. Thanks for watching, XBlaze. And Joe Mega, I have nothing against UE5, but I have something against the extreme number of people companies saying we are going to use UE5, putting all your eggs in one basket. Well, I mean, it's their company and they can do what they want. Like, I don't know. And especially if you're referencing like CD Projekt Red, Project Red. I don't know. If you're referencing them specifically too, I feel like it was probably a good move on their part after Cyberpunk. So I don't know. Yeah. Why would you ever voluntarily use CMake? Because it's better than Premake. Since everyone else uses CMake, I've given up. Like I don't feel like trying to support everyone else's things. CMake is pretty universal in the world of C++. So yeah. Okay, so load file. What is this saying? It's, oh, yeah, we don't need that there. And I also need to call this function. So let's go ahead. We will say after that, let text layer parse SVG. And we will give it, let's just do this too. Test equals that. And we'll go over here. That's good. Cool. Okay, so we'll do that. We should hit that breakpoint now, and then we can kind of go through. Oh, and that's actually not going to work. I should be pulling that in the loop because this is multi-threaded. So what I should do is put this, and we should basically say if, and this is all temporary code. I'm going to remove this. It's just for testing for now. So if that, and then we'll say that, and we'll just copy this stuff, which is right here. So we'll do that, and then we'll just put that right up there. Okay, so that's good. Why is this not? It's because of that. Is that ready? Okay, there we go. So that should do that, and let's just also that. Okay, cool. So that should hit us the breakpoint, and now we can actually see what's happening in there and stuff, and then go from there. Nope. Must return a value. Let's return that for now, which should be fine. And we can do that. Nope, still not there. Did I not add it to the build? I don't think I did. No. Okay, let's just go ahead and add that real quick too. So I can go ahead and add tinyxml2 into here. Actually, I'm going to do this as a separate thing in here because I don't want to pollute my namespace. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll go down here. Say project tinyxml2. And I'm just going to set this up real quick. And we'll set all this stuff up. Okay, and then I'm just going to copy this because we need these default settings. And go down here. So that looks right. Change this to that. And then this will be, I think it's just one header file is all that's in there, but I just need to make sure real quick. One header and one source file. Yeah, so tinyxml2.cpp, tinyxml2.h. And I don't think I need to include the h file here, but we're doing it. Okay, so then this, that's fine. I can get rid of that. Debug, release, that looks good. And then I need to link to it up here. So my linking is all over the place because of stuff. So anyways, yeah, we'll go. Is this where I want to put it? Yeah, this should work. Okay, yeah, right here. And then we'll say tinyxml2. That should be good. And let's go back up to here. And build that. Cool. And reload this, and now we should be good. Let me just see what's going on. Pre-make for the win. How's it going, Record67? Good to see you. And no need to argue about this type of stuff. There's literally no point in arguing about CMake or anything that, yeah. Can you see all that remake garbage that Gabe needs to go through with CMake? It would be a few lines. Well, do they have a CMake project? If they do, then it would. Actually, I think they might have a pre-make project in there, so I probably could have done it a lot simpler. But do they? I think they might have. No, they got CMake list though. Yeah. So it definitely would have been simpler with CMake. That's the reason I'm switching, just because everyone actually has a CMake project in there, which makes it easier and stuff. So yeah. Okay, what's this saying? No such. Oh, I need to fix that path. That should be not nano VG. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, the only reason it is so long for me, Sam, is because nobody else supports pre-make, and so I have to basically write the project file for that library in addition to writing the code to link it to my library. So if they did have it, I could just say project and then type in the name of their project and it would work. But unfortunately, it's not, and they don't have that, so it's a little bit annoying. Okay, let's see what we get in this doc file. So we get write bomb, process entities, error ID. Okay, so I guess we should probably check and see if there's errors. In this case, it was a success, which is good. I am interested, though, in what the stuff looks like. So char buffer, so this is, I guess, just the file. But where is the actual nodes and stuff? I would assume they would be in here somewhere, but maybe not. Yeah, it looks like this might just parse on demand. Okay, let's see what functions we have. So if we do doc dot first child element except clear, deep clone, deep copy, error ID, error name, first child element. Let's do first child element, and let's look for the name of the element. In this case, let's look for defs. Or I guess we should probably look for SVG and just like make sure this is all right. So let's do that. Whoops, not there. SVG. That's the first element we will look for. And what does that return us? That gives us a XML element star. No, yes. Okay, so we can say XML element star. That's correct. Cool. So let's do that and let's see what we get in the element, because maybe that's a little bit better. Is UE5 free to use and publish from? Yes. I know I could have Googled, but hey, nope, you're good. It is free to use and free to publish from. I think like Unity, though, they do take a cut of any proceeds if you exceed a certain amount. So yeah. Only if you want to get money from it after you make like $1 million a year. Yeah, so it's just some insane number. Okay, so we get tiny XML node. I want to see if they give us, okay, cool, yeah. So root attribute has, it looks like, the different attributes. So it has version, cool. It has 1.1, which is the value, yes. So that's basically what I was looking for. So it does give us this stuff. So let's see if we can access that. So element, version, or not version, value or attribute. Yes. Okay. So we can say like find attribute. Cool. And then we can say version, and this gives us an XML attribute. Cool. I like how intuitive this is to you. Use. So attribute equals that. And what does this say? Could be null. Cannot be used. Oh, this is a const attribute. Okay. So we just do const and that should be fine. Let's see what's in there real quickly too. So you don't have to pay a fee then. Not if you're, yeah, after your first $1 million. So Unity also has something similar. Don't know about Godot. Yeah, I think Godot is absolutely free. I think it's, but I'm not sure. I could be wrong too. SU, it's how many percentages do you take, Gabe, for using the Mario engine? 0. You're free to use that, especially if you code it yourself. Because you can probably make it better too than I did. So that's the good part about it. Let's see. So we get value. So we can get the value of this too. If I say attributes value. Yes, and that gives me a const char. Sweet. Okay. And so we can do that, and then we can just say SVG, I guess it would be lowercase, version equals, and that should give us the correct thing. So if we do that, and then I'm just gonna, semicolon. I've been coding in JavaScript too much, but I use semicolons in there too, so that's weird. How's it going, Voxros? Good to see you. So we get SVG version equals 1.1. Sweet. That is what we have here. Cool. So I like how easy this is. I wonder if this XMLNS, I wonder if these colons affect that, because I feel like it's kind of like a sub element and stuff. But basically what we want to do is we want to get the width, the height, and we also do want to get this view box. I think these are all in points. It doesn't really matter because we're going to normalize the values anyways. Is this in points? Wait, okay. So we got this view box. Maybe that's not corresponding to this. Or if it is, it's not in points because that to that is not 31. And that is not 9. Actually, that might be close. But yeah, that's like 100 something. What about all these? Are these just... So we have like 4.5. I have to actually look up what this stuff is too. So let's look up path specs. And this is SVG 1.1. So let's just take a look at this beautiful website. So path data. A path is defined by including path element, contains D equals path data, where D equals the move to, line, curve, both cubic and quadratic Bézier's, arc, and closed path instructions. Okay, so this specifies the shape of a triangle. The M indicates move to, L's indicate lines to, and Z indicates a closed path. Cool. And I think I do have support for all of that in my SVG parser. I might have to add like arc and closed path, but I don't think we're going to run into those because those are less common. At least I believe they are. I might be wrong. Let me just double check though. svg.h. So if we go into here, you can do move to, line to, Bezier 2, Bezier 3, and then you can begin and close contours and stuff. Cool. So that is basically the same as this. Path data can contain new line characters and thus can be broken up into multiple lines. Okay, that part doesn't matter. All instructions are expressed as one character. Move to is an M. Okay, so superfluous. Oh my gosh, I cannot speak. Superfluous. That's how you say that. Superfluous. If I could talk today. White space and separators such as commas can be eliminated. So M 100. 100, L 200, 200 contains unnecessary spaces and could be expressed as that. Okay, but there is still a space between the numbers, which is all that matters. The command letter can be eliminated on subsequent commands. If the command is used multiple times in a row, you can drop the L in M 100, 200, L 200, 100, L negative 100, 200. Ooh, okay. So basically, this is kind of like context sensitive. So it's letter, number, number, letter, number, number. If there's no letter, it's the same letter as last one. Alternate forms of line 2 are available. Blah, blah. Alternate forms of curve are available. Okay, so this shouldn't be too bad to parse, hopefully. And so I guess what we can do is we can add an API in here, which is basically like... we could just do, so I guess, I don't know if this is a contour, or if this is a path, or what. I'm trying to think. So contours and paths are kind of like font things. And I wonder if just a move would just represent like a new contour in a font. Let's see what it says. The move to command establishes a new current point. The effect is as if the pen were lifted and moved to a new location. A path data segment, if there is one, must begin with a move to command and subsequent move to commands. i.e. when the move to is not the first command, represents the start of a new subpath. Okay, yeah, so they call it a subpath, but basically that's like a contour. The closed path command Z ends the current subpath and causes an automatic straight line to be drawn from the current point to... Okay, so I do have support for this too. So Z is closed path. So I guess move to doesn't necessarily represent a new path, which is kind of good. So what I'm going to do is we'll just have like a void... trying to think of how I want to do this. So this is create default. I guess what we can do is we can just say SVG object think of how I want to do this. From SVG text. I don't know. Maybe that from SVG path. Does that sound right? Yeah. So this is a path. It could contain different things. Like different subpaths. Yeah, it's got Z's in there, so that closes the path. Okay, I think this is fine. Whoops, that's not the one I meant to click. Yeah, so we'll just call it that. And we'll say constant char star path text. And that. Cool, so that is what we'll do. And this will be kind of our entry point. And we will go into here and we will code that right here. So, yes. And so what we'll do is we'll say result. And we can kind of go from there, and then we'll just return that at the end of all this. Okay, and maybe I should say equals create default, which just does this stuff. Yeah, gotta fix this. Okay, let me just check chat real quick. SE Woods, you versus me in Cart of Law in the next coming years. SE Woods supposed to be money. Nah, you're good. Foxers, how's the next video coming along? I wish I could say better, but it's basically at the same state it was before because I'm still working on this thing. But this is almost better, so yeah. So I can almost start working on it again from there. But if we take a look at this, what I've been working on is like axis, and now this is latex parsing so that I can actually write equations and stuff, which is the next important stuff. So I got this, and then you can make it 3D and stuff. But yeah, this is kind of like the next part. And once I get this working, I should be able to like start continuing with the video and stuff. Sam, are you thinking about adding voice recording to the software? You could later also add cutting audio clips and re-render them, the MP4 with some audio you record. So it's already got support for like audio waveform previews and stuff, but you can see it pause the whole application there. So if I do that, you may or may not be able to hear that. So it does have support for like previewing the audio waveforms. It kind of processes it in several frames there. And then if I do like zoom out and stuff, you can see it kind of loads in there. But yeah, I've thought about like clipping the audio because I've got it all cached here. So it wouldn't be hard to like just clip that and say like, you know, cut it here and here and whatnot. So I might add that eventually. For now, it's not a priority for me. But yeah, that could be a cool thing. And SE Woods, is the Patreon up? Not yet. So it's not at a state that I am okay with. Next video, next video or two, I might launch it. So, but eventually. We still haven't hit 50,000 subs yet. So still got to wait for that. Okay, anyways, though. So we've got this. And basically what we're going to need to do is have like a parser. I wonder if, I think this is probably going to be best in like a new file. I don't know. I'm probably just going to keep it all in this file. Yeah, I don't care too much. Well, this file is getting kind of bloated. Okay, yeah, let's make a new file real quick and then we'll put it in there. I think SVG is in here. Okay, yeah, I guess so. We'll have a new file in here. This will be SVG parser. .h. And we'll put in here parser.cpp. Okay. And this is for no reason other than organization. So we'll do that. And that. And this will just be like Svg object star parse Svg path. And we'll do that. And we will say that. And that's pretty good. I am happy with that. Let's copy all that. And do that and that. Okay, cool. So this will be good to have, and we will just include up here that so that we have access to this stuff. Cool. So instead of putting this in here, just to keep this a little less cluttered, I guess, we'll have that stuff, and then we will just get rid of all that. And we'll put this in here. And actually what I'm going to do is say, what am I going to say? Svg object res equals, that returns that. Let me just check this real quick, shapes.cpp, because I don't know if I can just copy that stuff over. I think I can. Okay, yeah, so I can just copy that with an equals assignment, and that should be fine. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll just say this equals that, and then we can say star res equals that. Okay, cool. So that's all good. Now I will explain what we're going to be doing here in just a second. Basically the whole reason I did this is because I want to separate this stuff into a little bit easier way to manage the parser, because the parser is going to have like a few different helper things taken directly from crafting interpreters type stuff that will help us to like advance where we are parsing and everything, like our whole position and everything, and this will just be overall easier to kind of deal with that stuff. And what we'll do too is we will have like some sort of structure to represent our parsing and our parsing results and stuff. That way this can be safely multi-threaded if we want to in the future. But yeah. Voxriffs, also, by the way, not related to the stream, but to the C3 language. A not fun thing about the C3 compiler is that it forces naming conventions. I think you're fine because you do have functions starting with small letter and type starting with capital letter, but it's still kind of annoying for people who use different conventions. That's interesting. I'm kind of happy with that. I don't know. It'd be cooler. Hopefully they have like a linter that just fixes your code automatically. If they don't, then that's stupid, but that's a pretty common thing. And that is one annoying thing about C++ is that it has no conventions to me. Or you can set up linters, which I might do eventually in like Clang, I think. But yeah, I think I'm okay with that though. Because syntax is usually just like a, I don't know, it can be a divisive issue if you're working on a team with people who get annoyed about low syntax issues. So if you have a linter and like a default standard, it's easier, which is nice. But yeah, not forcing naming conventions is good in my honest opinion. I don't know. I hate PRs where camel case for the win. I hate PRs where the thing is, oh, you didn't capitalize that variable or whatever. Like it's just, it wastes time on the reviewer side and on the reviewee side. So it's much easier to just have a linter take care of that stuff and go according to your team standard. So yeah. I mean, I guess if you want to come up with your own standard, I can kind of see that as in not forcing naming conventions, but I think team-wise having linters and stuff is good. Yeah. On a team, yes, it's good to have standard, but for compiler, I don't think so. I don't know. Even with that too, I've had so many different coding styles. I would appreciate it if the compiler just fixed my code to all match the same thing. But yeah. Okay, anyways, though, let's do this. This will be our compiler info or parser info. Yeah, I guess that's what we'll call it. Sure. Why not? This will have the text. It will have the size. And we will have like a cursor, which is just where we are in the parsing. And then I guess I don't know. We're not going to do it that way. I was going to say we could have like member functions, but it's just as easy to have something like static void consume number or something like that, right? So it's the easiest way to go about this. So basically, this consists of a letter, a number, and that's basically what you're going to run into. Yeah. Okay, so it's literally just letters followed by numbers. I guess it can get more complicated too. We'll have to take a look into this stuff in the future, but for now, we'll support the minimal, which is what it looks like this has. Oh, and I think I know what that view box is now. So that view box is basically to normalize within these. So that is in points. It's just normalizing where these XY positions could go. And maybe? I don't know, because these XY positions are all pretty constrained. So actually, I don't know. Yeah. Weird. I've got no idea. Okay, yeah, I've got no idea. Anyways, though, so basically what I'm thinking is for this parser, we can just have like a simple thing where we'll have like a token, and the token will literally just be pointer size t text length. So that will be kind of a token to the text itself. I don't think I want to do this though, because it really doesn't matter. Like all we're going to have is a number or a letter which represents something. So instead, we'll have enum class token type uint a, and then we can extend this later if we need to. So basically we'll have like a command, some sort of command type, or we'll have a number. So we'll have number, and then we will have different commands. For now, I'll just start with like move to, which is an M. So wait, and is uppercase, lowercase different? Yeah, so uppercase is absolute, lowercase is relative. That's important too. So that's important too. Okay, so we'll have like move to relative, move to absolute. Okay, so we'll basically just kind of do something like this, length there, and I don't like screaming case. Let's do that. I know this is a very weird syntax. I'm gonna have like kind of the identifier and then positioning type, since that's probably gonna be a common thing. So we'll do that, length, and then we'll have none, which equals 0. Okay, so, or maybe we can have that be error. So if we can't parse it for whatever reason, if it's malformed or something. So that's that. And then what we can have is we can just have token type, and then we can have float number. We'll just kind of include it there too. And I guess we could do this like a union as. Okay, so that's what we're gonna do. So if there's ever any reason to add something else, we can say like const char start text or something else. I don't know. But the command should be all we need. So this union really isn't anything, but it might be helpful in the future. Okay, so we got that. And then what we're going to want is we're just going to want token, parse next token. And that will take in parser info like that. And that will use some more helper functions. So some things that we will probably need is number, char c. So that will just return that. Okay. Char is dot. We don't need that. Okay, char is alpha. For like alphabet, not like alpha. We'll just return c is greater than or equal to a, and c is less than or equal to z, or that. And I'm going to parenthesize these because I don't know. I think Boolean operators do have precedent, but I can never remember. So it's just easier to parenthesize that. Sorry, let me just catch up on chat real quickly. How's it going, Anilcon? I'm sorry, I'm going to say your name wrong. Today I'm not good at pronouncing things. But yeah, Voxerus. By the way, here's a cool thing I found in the Bitwise stream. Instead of having const char star text and int for the index, you store a pointer to the current character, which means advancing is just as simple as current plus plus. Yes, that is nice. Well, it probably is common knowledge, but crafting interpreters does it the text index way, so people tend to use that more. Oh, yeah, I guess I don't have to do this. I could just say like const char star cursor or char star. I don't know. I like this just because it kind of makes more sense to me, but I don't know. Yeah. Langors, it's always nice when you spend half an hour wondering what you did wrong, and it turns out you just forgot to put a line of code inside a for loop. And also, this is nice too, sorry, just an aside, because if I want to check and see if I'm going to overrun the bound, I just have to do cursor +1. Whereas if I had that as like that, I'd probably have to do something like cursor minus text is greater than text length, which isn't a big deal, but I don't know. Maybe I'm guessing that's probably why he did it that way. Echo time. Hello, how's it going? And Langors has some nice libraries for doing supercritical. It's always nice when you spend half an hour wondering what you did wrong, and it turns out you just forgot to put a line of code inside a for loop. Why, you may ask? Because Python uses indentation rather than brackets. Yeah, that's a tough one. Another reason I'm switching away from Anim. No more Python. But I'm switching to Lua, which may or may not be worse. I don't know. Voxerus. Or is higher precedence than ampersand? Okay, that's what I thought. Logical and. The dog ain't going to walk itself. Don't worry, guys. I'll be back. All right. Cool. So, let's continue. So, we've got kind of our parser information set up. We got a couple helpers. Let's also add in, we'll do this down here. EOL, end of line. I guess EOF, end of file. I can't use that. Who defined this? Okay, we'll call it end of line. I don't know. I don't like that though. End of file. Fine. We'll just type it out. Okay, so we got end of file, which just signifies like we've reached the end. So that'll be kind of our breaking point. Sam, I would go outside too, but it's raining. Same. It is raining for the first time in like 2 weeks, and I am happy for it. So yeah. Okay, anyways, let's finally start going. So we have parse next token. I'm going to do like the whole peek thing that Bob Nystrom does too. I think this is how he does it, right? It's just peek. I don't know if he does this. Advance. I don't know. I'm going to call it that. So basically that should just return. I think he has like peek and then peek peek, but this makes a little bit more sense to me. So yeah. Okay. So anyways, and we also need to pass in that. So we'll say return parser info dot cursor plus advance is greater than or equal to dot text length -1. That will return an end of line character, which we'll just do that. Otherwise, we will return dot text cursor plus advance. Okay, so that'll be our peak, and then I guess I will also have, let's also do, so advance, and we also need parser info. And that's const. Okay, so that's that. And I'm wondering if I want like a consume or something, or an advance. I think advance is probably all I need, but I like consume. No, I think we're just going to go with advance. Yes? No? Maybe? I'm not sure how I want to do this. I'm trying to think through what's going to be the best way to terminate this stuff. Let's go with a bool advance. And this will return false if it's the end of file. So we'll have like parser info dot cursor plus plus if, well, I guess, and then we can just say return parser info dot cursor is greater than equal to, or I guess is less than dot text length. Yes, that. Okay, so we'll just do that, and then this will return true if we can continue advancing. If it's false, then we've reached the end of file, and that's all good. Cool, so we've got that. Now we just want to go through, so it's either gonna be a letter, which is a command. So we will call this token result dot type equals token type error. Okay, and then we'll say if peak parser info is an character, then this is a command dot type, and then we'll switch on that command. So I guess, ooh, yeah, this should return a char, shouldn't it? Advance. Yeah, let's do that. So char. So then what this will do is this will return parser info. Trying to think of, so char c ret val. No, char c equals, that's not a ret val, that is the ret val. Char c equals parser info dot text cursor. And I'll just do a simple bounds check here too, just in case. So we'll say parser info dot cursor is less than length. Otherwise, that. Okay. Yes, that's good. Cool. So then if we do that, we'll say char command letter equals advance. Okay, so that advances it and gets us the letter. And Voxros, it's really close to flooding over where I live. I'm kind of wishing the rain would stop. Then it's been 2 freaking weeks of this. Wow. And Langors, where I live, it's raining. How that is too. Okay. Advanced returning char works just as well, since you can just check does not equal 0 still. Yeah, and that's probably what I'll end up doing. So then we'll do like a switch command letter, and we'll say default is glogger error unknown svg command %c, and we'll do that. And that will just return token type error, which is good because that's what we want. And then we can just return result at the end of all this. So case M, we can say results dot type equals token type move to relative, I believe. Might double check that. Case M equals that move to absolute. That's a semicolon. Break. And then we'll add the other stuff as we go through. Cool, I like this. Nice and simple. So absolute relative, cool, so that is good. We'll do absolute first because that just makes sense to me. Then relative. Okay, great. So if it's a alpha character, we just check and see if it should be a command line type. Otherwise, it's a number, or at least it should be. Else if is alpha, I guess is number. Peak parser info. So we'll do that. And now that I'm thinking about it, these should be inline. Yeah. Okay, let's make these inline real quickly too, because there's no reason that they should not be. And we should also make these static. That's not inline. That one might be inline. Oh no. Let's do that one first. Okay, so that's good. And then is number. Did I just do is number? I think that might have been. Yeah, that was is number. Whoops. Okay, so that's that. Is alpha is just this. So we will do that. Like that. Yeah, if it's one line of code, there's no reason I should make this a whole function. This is basically one line, so we will, and as is that. So we will just do the same thing here. That was peak. That was peak. So we'll do that. I'll just put it all up onto the same line, which is gross, but I don't care. Okay, so we'll do that. Same thing for advance. Oh, and I need brackets. That would help. Okay, so we'll do that. Yeah, this one's really gross because I'm just moving all of this onto the same line. Okay, cool. So that's all good. It's basically one line, so it doesn't matter too much. And then this will be our only like real function. Okay. So if it's a number, we want to parse the whole number. And since we're only dealing with floating types, I can make that a little bit easier on myself. So we'll just say parse number. And that should parse the number. And maybe we should have it like that, and that will return whether we succeeded or not. So that's like a float star out bool. Yes, okay. That way we can just return like on error or something. So then what will happen here is if we see a number, then we will say float number, and we'll call this out instead. And then we'll say parse number, if not parse number, parser info dot, or I guess we just pass that, and then number. G logger error, could not parse number. And then I guess we'll do like an error message to do, put error message here. For now, that's all we'll say that. Okay, so we do that. Otherwise, we're fine. And that should have put the number into there. So what we'll do is we'll say res.type or result.type equals token type number, and result.as.number equals that. Okay, cool. So that should basically be all we need. And then what will happen when we parse the SVG path is we will basically want to just go ahead and keep parsing tokens till we hit the end of line. So we'll say token equals parse next token, and we'll have to initialize some parser info. So we'll say parser info, and we'll say cursor equals 0, text equals path text, text length equals that. And let's also just do if is less than or equal to 0. And I'm actually gonna do that here. We'll just return an empty SVG object. Okay, maybe I'll put a warning there or something eventually, but that's fine. So we parse the token, and then we'll say while token.type does not equal token type end of file, we will continue parsing tokens. Yeah, okay. So that's fine. And then what we do here is we'll basically say switch on the token type. Oh, and then we'll have to do a little bit extra here. So I can't quite do it this simple. Well, actually, maybe I can. It doesn't really matter too much. Yeah, okay, this works fine for me. So basically, well, okay, yeah. Yeah, this should be fine. So we'll switch on the token type and say like case token type move to absolute. Oh no, this isn't gonna work quite right. So what I'm thinking of right now is basically if we just parse the tokens on demand, what's going to happen is I'm going to hit this, and then I'm going to hit like, so right, I'll hit move a number. And so basically what I'll want to do is I'll want to say, hey, let's parse the next number. Let's parse the next number, which already breaks because now I'm going to have to like parse next token here and then parse next token, which is kind of weird. But then we can have a situation where it's just two more numbers. And what this means is this actually means let's do another move too, but that's kind of implicit. So yeah, so what I'm thinking is basically we might want to abstract this into another thing, but I'm not quite sure. Or we might want to come up with like some sort of parse command, maybe. Or actually, let's do interpret command. That works for me. So we'll interpret the command, which in this case is going to be the token.type. We want to pass it the parser info because it's going to have to consume more stuff. And then we also want to parse it our SVG object so that it can actually like build the SVG object. So basically what interpret command is going to do is, and then we can actually, instead of doing this, we can do that. So what this is going to do is it's going to take the token type, take the parser info, take the res, and then it's basically going to go and parse more tokens until it gets to another command. And once we get there, okay, so this is another part. So once we get to another command, what do? Well, we're back into this loop, which means we should just pass this token by reference, is what I'm thinking. Yeah. So we pass this token by reference. That means that once we get to here, what's actually going to happen is we're going to go back up here. This is going to be like, this is a merge or a move to command, right? And then it's going to go back into here. It's going to use that same token to start the next command. Or we've reached the end of file, right? There's nothing here. So this is end of line. We get back up to here. It says, this is the end of file. And then once again, it just terminates execution. So yeah, I think this is what we're going to do. All that to say, another function, and that should be good. And this will take in, let's just copy that. So we have parse next token, and I also need to implement that number thing, which we'll get to eventually. Static. That. Okay. This will take in a token ref. It will take in a parser info ref. And it will take an SVG object star. Could do a ref, but it doesn't really matter. So that will go through. This may be way overcomplicating this too. But if I ever want to support like SVG2, it might have more stuff that's a little bit more complicated, and especially when it comes to styles and stuff, this might get complicated. So I'd rather kind of build out the actual infrastructure and then be able to expand this when I need to. Okay, so interpret command. What happens here is we basically say switch token.type case command or token type. Let's do move to absolute. So and then default token command, and we'll just do that, or token type, and that should be good. Okay, so when we do this, I'll have to do something else. I'm gonna also just real quickly add in bool absolute equals true. Because that will be helpful. Move to. We'll do that. So inside of here, I basically have this thing. If absolute, we just want to set it like this. Otherwise, we want to say cursor plus equals point, which should just move it. Cool. So that's all that was about. Back into here now. So move to absolute. What do? We parse two numbers, and then we parse the next command. And if it's a number again, then we continue parsing the numbers, if that makes sense. Yes, okay, so like basically this is gonna be a while loop, right? And I want to, we're gonna have to do this for several commands. So let's do one more function here. We're gonna do static void execute commands, or I guess a build command. This will take, this is just the same thing though. Oh man, I don't like this. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna do this. We're gonna say token type command type equals token dot type. Right, this is a command, which we know because of everything up there. Then what we're gonna do is we're gonna say token equals parse token, parse next token. Okay. And we should get two numbers, right? We should say number 1, number 2 should equal that, right? And then what we're gonna do at the end of this is we'll assign the token to whatever the last number is, or something like that. Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna parse two numbers, or at least we should. And I guess what I basically just want to do is like say glog or cert number 1, or I guess we don't want to do that. If number 1 dot type does not equal token type number, then we want to say token dot type equals error return. Yes, okay. And then we'll do the same thing here. And then we basically want to say like something like while true. Yeah, I guess we could probably do like do while number 2 dot type. Nah, well. Well, token dot type does not equal token type number. Okay, let's do that. And then we can say token equals parse next token. There we go. I think I like this. So what's happening? In Voxers, a helper for consume which checks a type, otherwise errors is helpful. That's also a good idea. Thank you. I knew there was something. I was like, I can probably do something in here that will help out with that. But basically we want like bool consume. And we want to consume that type. Thank you. So we'll do that. Above that, if, oh, and we want expected, of course. So expected token, and same thing here, expected token type token, or I guess that's token ref token. if token.type does not equal expected, token, yeah, that's right. Oh, that's wrong. Spell that right. Then token.type equals token type error, turn false, turn true. I guess we don't need the parser info. Do we? Maybe we do. Yeah, let's do that instead. And then we can do that. And we can say token equals parser. Oh, but then I need to return the token too. So this will return a token. Parse token. That, we'll grab that. Okay, so we basically grab the next token. If it's not expected, then we just set it to an error type, return the token. Oh, and then we can just return the token. Okay, that's better. Box shrifts, yeah, that's what I did, I mean. Oh, that's not exactly what I meant, but it works, so shrug. Oh, yep. So it looks like I was going down the wrong path and then went down the right path, hopefully. So basically we have this whole consume thing. Expected. If it's not the expected, it turns it into an error token and then it returns it. Okay, so then this would just be, instead of parse next thing, it's consume token type number parser info. Yes, I like that much better. Thank you for the suggestion. And then consume. And then I probably want some way to like, so what I'll also do is I will say parser info dot cursor equals text length, just to advance it to the end. So it should trigger everything to just end, right? So then this would end up being like end of file. Well, how do I want to error stuff? Because basically, like, if either of these aren't the correct thing, I want to like halt execution, get out of here. I'm trying to think of what the best way to do that would be. Let's add a semicolon here for a second. I think this will be fine for now. Let's see what we do here. Okay, so basically we parse two numbers. I guess what I'll do is I'll just say if number1 dot type. Well, okay, I don't know what the best way to do this is. Yeah, we'll do it this way. I'm basically just having to do the same thing here now, which is kind of gross. Voxers, crafting interpreters uses consume returns void, errors on wrong token, and match returns false on wrong token. Yeah, I guess, so if I do something like match, right, instead of this, we did match. I could say like if match, if not match break. But then it's like, it's kind of the same logic anyways, which is why I'm kind of like, I don't know. I might revisit this. We'll say to do. Okay, so we'll just leave it this way for now. And then I'll just say, if that does not equal that, or that with a semicolon. Number2 dot type does not equal that. Okay. No, I meant you should consume and just error if you don't get the right token. Error inside the function itself. Yeah, well, see, that's the thing. I don't want, because there is a very real chance that like I'm parsing invalid SVG or something, and I don't want to like crash the whole program if it's false. I just want to like display that error to the user. So that's why I'm kind of going around this in a little bit of a weird way. So because I kind of want it to continue running the program, this shouldn't be like breaking everything. So it's a little bit trickier, I feel like. I don't know. Maybe that's not what you meant by error if you get the right token. So I don't know. This should work fine though for now, for what we need to do. So basically if we have, that's where you would use match instead, yeah. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna have to look at crafting interpreters again at some point and revisit that to see how he uses match there. But for now, this is fine with me. Okay, so we get number 1, we get number 2. And basically what that's saying is this would be do the command to those numbers. Okay, so then we would do like execute command type, number 1, number 2. And so this is the final portion of this, and we also need to give it the res. Okay, so this is basically what I was working up to. So now we can finally just kind of keep going with this stuff. Let's do parse number, consume, interpret. Okay, yeah, right here. Static void, execute command. I guess it would be XY. And we'll call that the same thing. And then this would be res. Okay, so basically we will have that. And let's call this X, Y. X, Y, X, Y, dot as, dot number. Okay, cool. Okay, I'm back. You can continue now. Hopefully it was a good walk. Cool, so we've got this execute command. Let's switch on that command type. Case token type. Move to absolute. Okay, cool. So this is where we can basically just like start doing SVG. Move to. And then we'll give it the res. We will give it the point, which in this case is just gonna be vec3. X, Y, 0, absolute, true. There we go. And now we can finally get this last part in. So this would be a move to res vec3, X, Y, 0, false, break. Cool. And then we'll do default G logger error unknown command type %d. Break. Okay, cool. So we basically just go through, we continue executing the commands. Ooh, okay. So what happens, okay, I think what we're gonna have to do here is like, because what happens if the next token is a number? It's kind of gross. I'm gonna do this. So token XY. Okay, no. What I'm gonna do is say what am I gonna do? So basically we consume a number, execute the command, and then what I want to do is say if the next one is not going to be a number, then we want to stop. And then we want to say, I think I want to do something like while not peak, while it's not, or I guess while it is a number. Okay, so we'll do that. Yeah, that works for me. And then I guess what we'll do then, so while it is a number, this will consume a token. And I guess what parse next token will do is it's going to skip the white space after the token. So we'll do this, and then what basically is going to happen, okay, and then we'll do this, and then I'm basically going to say skip white space at the end of this. Okay, I like this. This should be fine. So then up here, below this, skip white space, parser info, right? And then we can just have static inline char is white space char. See? Oh, and I guess that doesn't need to bool. Oh, why are these all returning? This should be a bool. Is number, is alpha. Yeah. Don't know what I was thinking there. Okay, so that should just return C equals a space, or C equals a tab, or C equals a new line. Yeah, we shouldn't have to worry about new lines, but just in case. Okay, so then we'll do that. While parser info, I guess peak parser info is white space. So while we have white space, we just want to continue. So we'll just say advance. Cool, so that should be fine. So while is white space, and ooh, okay, I'm also gonna include the \0 here too. That's the end of line terminator. So we'll just have that there, just in case. S.E. Woods, it was an okay walk. It's my brother's corgi, so his legs do not require the longest walks. Nice. I've got a friend who's got a couple of those, so it's always funny seeing them. Okay, not that the dog is funny, but they're just like, you know, the meme dog, right? That is corgi, I'm pretty sure. I might be wrong there. So we've got execute command, parse next token. We skip the white space at the end of it, which is good. If it's a number, I actually want to parse the number, which we do using that parse number thing, which is right here. Okay, so how do we parse a number? I think the numbers in this are, or at least the numbers here, it's just a decimal point and number. So this should be pretty easy. We basically just want to go, I'm gonna do stood string. I don't know, it's kind of gross. But I kind of, I don't know. We'll do this, size t, number start, number end. Okay, and this equals parser info.cursor. Okay, so we'll do that. Then what we'll do is we'll say while is number peak. We keep going, advance. We do that. Okay, so we'll just keep going while it's a number. And then we'll say, or peak parser info equals a dot. And we'll say bool seen dot equals false. Okay, we'll just do that, and not seen dot. So basically, if we see a dot, we keep going, but if we see two dots, we stop. And then we can say seen dot equals that, or that. Okay, so basically that should just, once we see it, it'll turn true. So that way, if we see two dots, that's a bad thing, and we stop. So we do that, we keep advancing while we do that. Okay, yeah, and I think that's basically all we need. And then we can say float number equals A to F string. Okay, so this is where it's kind of like gross. We'll say char start number string equals that times that parenthesize that char star, and then we can just say g memory copy mem. We want to copy there. We want to copy our text from that. So we basically want to do that, I guess, plus and we just want to do char times that. Okay, and we'll just do this if number end is greater than number start. Otherwise, we will do like something, we failed, right? We didn't parse anything. So if we didn't do this, we'll just say turn false and start out equals 0. As he was, did I say meme dog? You might be correct on that. I found someone's meme. I think so. I don't know. Isn't it the Doge? Right? Is that a corgi? I might be wrong. Wait, no, I think. Is he gonna say what the dog is? No, it's a Shiba Inus. Okay, never mind. So I was wrong on that. But what is, am I thinking of the right dog here? Okay, no, but they do look kind of similar. Okay, yeah, so not quite the right dog. No, I think that one is bigger. Yeah, Shiba Inu. That's what it is. Yes, my friend does have a couple of those dogs though. Const star is invalid with void star. That's fine. We'll do that. Okay. So we copy that and then we will say start, or actually I guess we can just do A to F. No, it returns a double. Okay. So we'll say number string. Oh, and we actually want to do like +1 here. And then we want to say number string, number end minus number start equals that. So it's null terminated. Out equals that. Okay, cool. Does this return, can we do like A to F safe? Locale, but there is no safe. Okay, I'm gonna assume this should be fine then. So yeah, we'll do that and then that will just return true. And then we can just drop this. That's okay. So if we I want to do something here. If we have seen the dot, then this is an error. Well, I don't know. Okay, is that an error? I don't know. We'll just leave it for now. Okay, so that should parse the number. I think that's probably good enough. So we consume. If it's a number, we peek. Then we try and parse it. If we can't parse it, we throw an error. Otherwise, we set up the number. And then up here, what we do is we say execute command. So we basically get an XY, and then we get the command. We go ahead and execute that. And then in here we interpret it. Let's see what happens. So now if we go back into Svg parser. Okay, so this just parses the path. If we go back into here, I guess this should be like parse Svg doc. They look alike. Yeah. Inu means dog, so it's actually called Shiba dog. Nice. Omega spitting fun facts on the fly. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to parse Svg doc. And I might eventually move this to Svg parser because there's no reason it should be in here. File path. Yeah. So let's just do that right now. Okay. So let's move this into here. So we'll do that. This will go above this. And we will go back into here and steal that code that I started to do, which makes no sense putting it in here. So do that. And then let's also go remove that and go up here. Copy that. Let's just throw it up here. And then grab the include as well. Okay, so we've got all this. Now we are prepared to finally do the parsing. Okay, so the file name is not this. So we'll say doc load file path. File path. Okay, so we do this. We get that. We're just going to kind of do a couple assertions or whatever, right? We're gonna say, can we do like attribute length? Oh, cool. So you can even do like float val and that type of stuff, which is kind of cool. Unfortunately, those aren't float vals, and this is like space separated float vals. So that's kind of annoying. I wonder if I can, yeah, I could probably just like set up a small parser info thing for this too, and just parse those numbers and stuff though, which should be good. Okay, anyways though. So basically I just want to check and see if that's 1.1. If it's not, I'll just say I don't support anything except that for now. So I'm checking to see if we can do like value length or something. String, length, name. Nope, that's the name of the attribute. Next, which gets the next attribute. No, I cannot get the length of the value. That's kind of annoying. Okay. So then I'm going to assume that this is like a null terminated string. So we'll just say if stood string compare value 1.1. Right? Do I have to do equal 0? I think I have to do equal 0 here. Is there a string compare safe? I'm guessing there probably is. No, there is not. Okay. And we'll say if it's not equal to 0. Glogger error. Only support for SVG version 1.1 right now. Okay. Do that, return null pointer. So otherwise, if we have the correct version, let's go ahead and grab, actually, I don't even think we need the viewing box because we already determined that that viewing box doesn't really make much sense here, does it? So what I think is this use XY, right? That just means, do they have this like listed in this spec? No, I think this is just the path I'm looking at, right? Wait, do they have like C++ code that I could just use? If they do, then I'm doing all this for no reason, but it's too late now. Okay. It's still fun, so it's not no reason. If we keep going down, do they list out what that use is? Nope, I don't think they are going to. Maybe? Let's do Control F. Use. Nope, there's nothing there. Let's go back to the top. So the path element, path data, DOM interfaces. I think I'm just looking, what if, did I, no, okay, so this is just the paths. Oh, it's because I looked up path spec. Let's look up SVG 1.1 spec. Okay, here we go. There we go. This is probably what I should have started looking at. Okay, so we've got paths, which is what we were on. Rendering model, basic data types, interfaces, structure, styling. And I bet you I could. Probably, yeah, I could totally just use this. Maybe. I don't know. I might switch eventually. But for now, it's fine doing it on my own. It's not that big of a deal. Okay, we might switch later. SE Woods, how often do you like end the stream and just continue to code off stream? Tell us, we won't be mad. Never. As soon as I end the stream, I usually go grab lunch and just kind of defrag from stream and coding fatigue. And then after that, I go back and like code a little bit later in the day, maybe. I usually have errands to run on Saturdays and stuff too anyway, so it's like I'll go grocery shopping and do other stuff like that, but just depends. Sometimes I'll keep coding. If it's like I had a problem at the end of stream and I couldn't focus, I'll keep coding after stream because it's a little easier to focus, and then I'll solve it and then I'll stop. So really just depends. But metadata. I think this is no. Okay, this is an element. Introduction. About SVG. MIME type. Namespace. Public identifier. Compatibility with other standard efforts. Definitions. So standard shapes which are predefined, specifically circle, ellipse. Okay, cool. So this is good to know too. So there are like specific shapes. Canvas, a surface onto which graphics elements are drawn. We have defs and we have G. I want to look for those, defs and G. Which I'm guessing defs is like definitions, and then G is who knows. Rendering model, basic data types and interfaces, interface SVG element. Syntax? No? Angle, anything, color, coordinate. Okay, these are all good to know too. So this is actually a lot bigger than I thought it would be, but the good news is we will probably only have to do like a subset of this stuff. Use at least double precision. Well, we're not using double precision. Interface SVG element. Okay, so that's not what I want. Cool, so that was interesting. Document structure. Maybe this is what we're looking for. Okay, so we've got an SVG. We do have that. So we have SVG here, and then we have defs, and then we have path. Grouping. Okay, so this is a group, is what the G is. So grouping constructs, when used in conjunction with the desk and title elements, provide the information about the document structure and semantics. Documents that are rich in structure may be rendered graphically as speech or as braille. That's interesting. Also, for those of you wondering, this is how I learn about stuff. So if you're ever like wondering how something works, just look up the spec. The only spec you can't look up because they're stupid is the MP4 spec, because this is a proprietary format. And so don't implement this. Otherwise, you'll get fined. It's stupid. You can still kind of look it up and stuff, but it's like there's not really much here. It's just sad. But yeah, you can do all sorts of cool stuff. If you like look up TTF spec, Microsoft. Nope, that's not Microsoft. So Apple's got one. I like Microsoft's. They've got tons of stuff. If you're ever curious about how anything computing-wise works, just look up the spec, and you can learn all sorts of interesting things. Sorry, that was an aside. I just love that all this information is for free and you can do. Yeah, Joe Mega, solution, don't use MP4. So true. I never knew how annoying. Oh, man, it's pain. It is true pain. Essie Woods, that Essie Woods just wants to shut up. Better. No, Essie Woods, you're fine. I just saw that. Yeah, you're good. Okay, let's see. The defs element. Okay, definition content for reuse. That's what I thought this was. So SVG allows graphical objects to be defined for later reuse. To do this, it makes extensive use of IRI references to these objects. For example, to fill a rectangle with linear gradient, you first define linear gradient element and give it as this. And then you have an ID. Then you reference that ID as this. For the fill value. Oh, okay. And you can even reference it like that. That is interesting. Huh. So this is a pretty complex thing. And it even says, yeah, so we have this reference with the hashtag G0-104, which is this ID, G0-104. I'm interested about that use statement too, though. Some types will not, such as gradients, will not by themselves produce a graphical result. They can be placed anywhere. Sometimes it's desirable, blah, blah, blah. It is recommended that wherever possible, dereferenced elements be defined inside of a defs element. Cool. Interesting. Okay, so we've got the desk. We've got the G. Now, what about use? I think that's kind of like the last big thing. Overview, the defs element, desk and title. Use. There we go. Okay. Core attributes. So, Any SVG symbol, graphics element, or other used is potentially a template. So G is group. Potentially a template object that can be reused, instanced in the SVG via a use element. The use element references another element and indicates that the graphical contents of that element is included drawn at the given point. Okay, is this the center point or is this the bottom left or top left? The use element has optional attributes x, y, width, and height, which are used to map the graphical contents onto a rectangular region. The effect of a use is as if the contents of the reference elements were deeply cloned into a separate DOM tree which had the use level ancestors. Because the cloned DOM tree is not exposed, contains the use element, its attributes, the DOM does not show the reference. For user agents that support styling with CSS, property inheritance. Oh, dang. So this can even, the reference elements inherits properties from the use. So it can get pretty complex, but the good news is, like I said, we only have to support a subset of this, and then I can expand this as I go on. It's kind of like a separate side project thing. Okay, so I'm guessing we just add the XY is what it makes this sound like. So XY, you just add to it, and then width height, I guess. Oh, and let's see what xlink href is. IRI reference. Okay, so that's easy. Cool. So basically we just do that plus to all of these coordinates, and then this just uses this. Do we actually reuse any of these elements too? I'm curious. G250, G159. Okay, we do reuse G159. And we reuse, no, we don't use that. Okay. Because the reason I was thinking about that, we might want to also reuse these elements instead of just copying all that data, because that's going to be expensive. So what I'm thinking is each of these paths is one SVG object, and then each of these IDs references that SVG object, and we can just sort of combine them into a group, which is exactly what this thing does. Sorry, SE Woods. Well, MP4 seems to be an ISO spec. Can those actually be proprietary? I don't know exactly how it works and stuff, but if you like take a look at this. This is where I'm pulling most of that from. Patent mini fact. So they have it patented, the algorithm, I think. So a lot of legal questions. Does Ffmpeg use patented algorithms? We do not know. We're not. Okay, so they just kind of plead ignorance. So this is for H.264, which is like, okay, yeah, and then they have Mpeg 4. The user's attention is called possibly for some of the processes conformance with this specification. So it is an ISO, part of ISO spec. Conformance with this specification may require use of an invention covered by patent rights. See, this is just beyond stupid in my opinion. So in relation to that, I don't think the spec is patented, but what the Mpeg LA, right, Mpeg related technologies, what this company does is they will pursue legally, you know, they'll try and get you if you don't have a license to their patent, because they have technically patented the algorithm, which is also why the MP4 sucks and hasn't gotten much innovation. And it's also why this was invented, AV1, which is the alliance. This work, I think they say it somewhere here. What is it? It literally said it somewhere. Welcome to GitLab repo for this. Blah, blah, blah. It's an AV1 compliant thing. Okay, yeah. So it was initially founded by Intel in partnership with Netflix, then was adopted by the Alliance of Open Media. So this is basically like open sourcing these media implementation and stuff. Yeah, it's a patent troll company, basically. But I think also Google and Apple and Microsoft are all part of this as well, and endorsing AV1 to screw over MP4, which I love. So I am actually happy with that. But yeah, AV1 is interesting. It's like the codec of the future, I guess. And you'll notice that Netflix uses it for their streaming, and I think they invented it. I'm not sure though. So it's just cool. And I'm glad that we're moving past that stuff.
Anyways, though, so we've got that use element. So basically, we want to go through the defs. This will give us our SVG objects. We'll parse these, and then it gives us an identifier, which we can use to then reference when we go through our groups and whatnot. AV1 also has better encoding. Exactly. Like, I think MP4 lacked the innovation it needed because of all the patents surrounding it, which is just great because it eventually led to its own death because people couldn't innovate because of that stupid company. I'm sorry. It annoys me when you have companies that try to patent ideas. It's so stupid. Like, an idea without execution is nothing. You have to actually execute on the idea to have something. And so the idea that you can patent an idea is just the most, I hate that. Anyways, that's a complete aside. Let's get back to this. So we have paths in our definitions. So we have our document here. We kind of check this thing, make sure it's okay. The width and the height, let's just check that real quickly too. Joe Mega found this. Well, patents usually last about 20 years. MP4 was made back in 2001. Version 2 was in 2003. So 2023, the patent should be expired by then. Well, that's nice. Too bad that they lost out because everyone's moving on from them anyways, which I love. Yeah. Okay, let's go back here. I want to see the SVG element. Yes, I want to see this. So what is this thing? The width and the height in the view box. I want to know what those represent specifically. SVG? No, you're not going to tell me. Descriptive elements. Maybe this? No. Because they have view, but they don't have view box or width and height. This is SVG version, and then we have all this stuff, and then we have width and height. But I'm not seeing that there. That's weird. Okay. Yeah, so they have width and they have height here too. Okay. Why don't they have width and height listed here though? That's kind of weird. Pattern, style, all that stuff. Oh, here we go. And then they have it listed right here. Okay, whatever. For outermost SVG elements, the intrinsic width of SVG document fragment. For embedded SVG elements, the width of the rectangular region. Okay, so this is the whole document fragment. For embedded SVGs, this is the width of the rectangular region where it's placed. So that is basically the bounds. Do they have view box listed here though? There is no view box. X has no meaning. Has no meaning. Okay, so if they aren't listing the view box, I'm going to guess that we can safely ignore that. And then this width and height, we can just divide by those to get these as normalized values. Now, what is this minus? L 1.504539. Why? Oh, that's a negative? Ugh. That's something I didn't think about. That's kind of gross. I don't like numbers being separated by the negative symbol. But okay, let's add support for that very quickly too. So if we want to peek a number, we can also or C equals a negative symbol, which is kind of gross, but yeah. I know Voxriffs, you said earlier that this is, we do have operator precedence there, but it still scares me for some reason. So parentheses. Okay, so if C is a negative, and then what we can do when we parse a number is we can just say, so if it is a number, bool scene negative symbol equals false. I guess what we can do is we just check it at the beginning. Well, okay, I don't, let's not put this as part of isNumber. Let's do that. And then where we're checking isNumber, where is that? So, okay, let's call this isDigit. And then what we'll say is static inline bool isNumber part. Return isDigit C or C equals negative. Okay, let's do that. And then down here, we can say while isDigit part, okay? Or isNumber part, like I said. So while it's a number part, if this is a number part, then we want to parse a number. And then down here, we'll say while this is a digit. Yes. Okay, there we go. Then what we can do is we can say if peak parser info equals a negative symbol, then we can say is negative equals true, and then we can say advance. Okay. And then we'll just say bool is negative equals false. There we go. And then that should mean that we will stop at the end of this. If we hit a negative symbol, that should stop this and everything too. And we will basically just say if star out times equals -1. Okay. There we go. I like that better. Cool. Joe Mega, sorry, let's see. Well, patents usually last about 20 years. Makes me think, how does VLC handle MP4 then? VLC gets around something because it's based in France. Ah, nice. I do like that too. I still can't believe patents are even a thing. Like, who thought that? The person who thought patents were a good idea was the person who thought they had good ideas, but they didn't know how to execute them. So they're like, oh, I'll just let somebody else do all the work and I'll steal their money. You know? So stupid. Okay, so anyways, we've got that parse number thing. That should support those. What was I even doing? I was doing this stuff now. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to look for the SVG elements. We're going to look for the SVG attribute, or I guess the version attribute. Going to make sure our version is 1.1. Otherwise, okay, that doesn't matter. Cool. So we do all that. This is SVG element. Then what we want to do is get the float overall width equals that find attribute, and I guess this would be width, I think is what it called it, right? Yeah, width and height. Okay, and they might have point in there. So if they have point in there, we just kind of want to, well, actually what we can do is we can just say, well, what I can do is I can just say parse number, but I can't quite do that. Joe Mega, I'm open for patents. Everyone can use them free of charge. No patent trolls, and your invention is protected by law, but F closed patents. Yeah. I'd have to look more into that. I'm not sure what the difference between open and closed patents are. Haven't heard that, but what's query float value do? Okay, that returns an error. See, I think that's gonna basically break. Let's do a parse number. And this will basically be the same thing as this, except just using const char star. So what we'll do here is we'll say static bool parse number const char star. Well, actually, what can I do? Actually, I can just let C++ handle this for me, or whatever, C. We can just do A2F here. Yeah. Yeah. But I do want to make sure, because I think this could potentially be null. So if svg element, then we'll just say error no svg element found. So we'll do that, and that will be the file path. Okay. Otherwise, we get the version attribute. Does this return null pointer? Let's just check it real quick. Yeah, so it does return null pointer if it doesn't find it. Okay, so we'll just say if not version attribute, then we'll just say glogger error, unknown svg version, no version attributes provided for file path, return null pointer. Okay, then if it works, we get that. And then here, we should say with attribute, which is going to be a const xml attribute star with, so we'll do that. If not that, then we'll do the same thing here. Could probably make this a little bit simpler, but for now, this is fine. Unknown svg width. Otherwise, we can do this, and we'll just say a2f with attribute value. That's good. We'll do the same thing for height. Okay. And let's go here, height attribute. Okay, so we do that, do that, do that for all height. Okay, and no height provided. There we go. Cool, so that should get us the width, the height, and our version, do all those checks. Once we've got all that stuff, we can go ahead and parse the paths. So we want to parse all paths. So then we'll say attribute star defs equals defs. Okay, or I guess, oh wait, I keep doing find attribute. This is wrong. Wait, no, that's right. Okay, that's right. What we want to do is this. Okay. So this will be defs element. We will find the first element of defs, right? Yes. Okay, so we do defs, and then we're going to find path. So we'll just iterate through all the paths. If defs element. Do I initialize this SVG object anywhere? I do not. Let's also go ahead and we'll say SVG object star equals, and I thought I had done that. Maybe, I don't know. I guess I didn't. Okay. So we'll say this equals that. Okay, so we do that. And then we'll just say object equals that. Okay. There we go. So we've got our object, we've got our defs. Ooh, okay. So I guess this SVG object could technically have subpaths, which is fine, but this could have a group of multiple SVG objects, which is kind of problematic. This will have to change. I mean, I guess I could just do like something like struct SVG group. Right, and then a group is a group of SVG objects. Yeah. But that kind of doesn't make sense because an SVG object should just be like a group of objects as it is. For now, we'll just parse one, right? So we'll just get one thing parsed, and then once we get one thing parsed, I think we'll be able to call this a success, and I can move on from there. So if the defs element exists, I'm going to find the first star path element, right? So we'll just say find, can I do child element? First child element. Okay, yeah, I can't do that. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Cool. So we'll get the first child element. That's a path. Okay. We're not going to worry about the ID or anything for now. We're just going to get the path attribute. So we'll say XML attribute star equals that find attribute path. Is that what it's called? I think it's just called D. It is just called D. Okay. If the path attribute exists, then we'll go ahead and parse the path. So then I can finally say parse SVG path. Oh, and I think this is where it was. Okay. So this is what I was looking for. So I guess at that case, we could return this. We'll do this. Return. So this will say parse SVG path. Okay, and then we'll give it the path text, which is just that value. Okay, and then we give it the text length, which we can get by doing that. Okay. And we'll return this. Cool. Don't want to do that twice. Okay, and then that will basically go through, interpret the commands, create an object, return it. Okay. So all that to do, we'll finally just try and parse one element and see if we can draw it, and if we can, I'll be pretty happy with that. So if we go back into application, so if the latex is ready, Svg parser, which we want to include up here for a temporary thing, hash include that, and we'll say static Svg object temp object with null pointer. Okay. Then we'll say temp object that doc file path if temp object, we will do that. And actually, we'll do this. We'll say temp object render create animation, and we'll give it VG T parent. Is the parent important in this case? Let's just check. So if we do this 2D, do I actually use parent? I do. Oh, that's kind of important then. Okay, so we will have a static anim object parent temp parent. Okay, and then like here, I'm gonna say temp parent dot type equals anim object type v1. Do I have like SVG here? I don't. Okay, we're gonna call it that. Position dot x equals 0. I think that should be fine. I just want to make sure this is all good. Stroke width equals 5. Okay. Equals that. Okay, so basically I'm setting up an animation object that we'll be able to put this SVG object into and then use. Okay, U8 vec4 doesn't like this. We'll just leave the color as white then. Well, actually I could just say .r. that.g B and A. Okay. So yeah, we basically set up this dummy object. Dummy object will get this. And then right here, we'll pass in the dummy object temp parent. And we should be good. Okay. And this is all just to make sure that the parsing semi works and stuff. Here we'll say std string doc file path equals get md5 that, and we'll do that. Okay, so we parse it if the object is ready. We'll do that. And then no reverse, and we'll say static float t equals 0, t plus equals dt. Okay. Cool. So that should render the create animation once it's ready. If it all works out. Except it's not going to. It's going to fail, which is fine because we haven't supported enough of the SVG parsing stuff yet. But we'll get around to that in just a minute. Just want to make sure this is kind of working. I've been coding for like 2 hours and we have not tested anything. So be very surprised how much of this works. Okay, we got an error. No SVG element found. Well, that's a good start. No SVG element found. Do I have that wrong? So this is coming from, plus .svg would help. Okay, let's try this again. Round 2. I mean, I'm surprised it got to that point and didn't just die. Okay, so we got nothing. It looks like it just didn't parse it. Let's see what happens if we go and put a breakpoint here. So if we go into here, let's just kind of explore what happens. So we jump into here. We load the file. That succeeds. Cool, all good. We get overall width is 31.54. If we look in here, 31.54, so that's good. Overall height we get is, I should have checked that, 9.96. Height 9.96, that is good. So then we get the defs element. If defs element, we do not get the defs element. Defs. It's definitely there. We just didn't get it. Did I do something? Weird. So I do that. But it doesn't like that. That's kind of interesting. I wonder where that is. So we just look for that. It worked for SVG. And there's definitely, unless I'm looking at the wrong file. So what? That's 07 whatever. It's not going to tell me. Let's look at the other file real quick, because maybe it's like one of these files has a defs and one of them doesn't. Nope, they've both got a defs section. Oh, it's a child element of SVG. Oh, that would help. Okay. So this is actually that SVG element. Okay. So that's what should happen. Let's step through it again. Just make sure this is all working good though. So we go, there we go here. Okay, we get an element. That worked. Cool. We get a path attribute. That's great. Let's see what the length is. 489. That sounds good to me. Cool. So then we get the value. We jump into here. Okay, we initialize everything. What is our first token? Our first token is a number. It should be M. Okay, so that's wrong. Why'd we get a number? Okay, let's put a breakpoint here. Let's jump back into here and then see what happens. I mean, the fact that we got a number is interesting. So, okay, we get into here. We say is alpha. It's not a character. What is peak returning? Let's look at autos here. Peak returned 3. Where is it getting 3 from? Oh, it's getting it from here, I guess? Maybe? What is our cursor? That's probably a good question. Cursor is 0. And we get M3 here. And peak returned... Oh, I guess peak should be 0. Default. That's why. Still weird. It's looking at this one, which is not the first path element. So that's just interesting. We should default that to 0. Okay, let's try this again. Third time's a charm, right? Honestly, I'm pretty happy for... This isn't like that big of an error, and it's fairly easy to debug. So, okay, cool. So we get move to absolute, which is correct. And if we look in here, we get a move to absolute, and I'm guessing it's going to be that 3.527 thing. So then we go into here, we jump interpret command. Command type is going to be move to absolute. Cool. So then we get token X. X is a number, 3.307, ending in 2. We get 3. There is no 3.307 ending in a 2. Where is this coming from? 3. Where are we getting that from? 3.307. Oh, I'm looking at the wrong SVG. There we go. There's 3. Okay. 3.307. 597. Oh, crap. Okay, so we consumed that 2, which isn't good. Why did we consume the 2? Is it because we skipped the white space? Yeah, if we look at the cursor, I'm betting we consumed that 2 for some reason. Parser info. So cursor is 10. We can go and just kind of like do this too. So parser info dot text parser info dot cursor. And sorry, this text is so small. If I zoom in, it only zooms in the code, and I can't really zoom this thing in, which is very annoying, but that's Visual Studio thing. I need to get that thing like Zoding Daily where he clicks and it zooms into a specific portion of the screen. Oh, and it's also underneath all this text, so you guys can't see it anyways. Let's move this stuff out of the way real quick. Well, okay. Let's move this over here. So this is what I've been doing. Sorry, guys. I didn't even realize you couldn't see that. I need to do a few things to make sure you guys can see what I'm actually doing. So parser info cursor is 2. So we're definitely here. What I'm curious about is why we consumed that white space character. And how we did. Wait, is it? So X is, let's just double check this again, 3.307596992. No, okay, I don't think we did consume that 2. I think this is a rounding error, which would make more sense. Okay, so that's just a rounding error. Let's see if we actually are correct, because it says it's at 2. Sorry, I'm just expecting this to break, and so the fact that it actually is right, 2.2914. 2.2914. Okay, so that's actually kind of working. Okay, so then we get execute command. Oh crap, I should have jumped into that. I'm going to assume that worked. And then it says while is number. So then it just jumped out of that, which is good. So now what is token? Token is still moved to absolute. That's not good. Oh, because I forgot one thing down here too. So then after this, what we need to do is say token equals. Actually, what we can do is up here. Yeah, I like this better. So then what we can do here is we can say token equals parse next token. This is much better. This should just be token.type. This will be that. That. I like that a lot better. Cool. So we'll go back up to here. Type. Okay. So this is better. So now when we finish interpreting a command, we parse the next token, which should be the next command, which is good. Okay, cool. So let's also just add support for C, which if we look back at our spec here, if we go back to paths, we can see path data. They have a table here. Okay, so C, absolute, curve 2. And this actually takes in x1, y1, x2, y2, xy plus. Draws a cubic Bezier curve from the point xy using x1, y1 as the control point at the beginning of the curve, x2, y2 as the control point at the end of the curve. C uppercase indicates the absolute coordinates will follow. C lowercase indicates relative coordinates will follow. Multiple sets of coordinates may be specified to draw a poly Bezier, the end of a command. Ooh, so you can have higher order Bezier curves too. The new at the end of the command, the new current point becomes the final xy coordinate pair used in the poly Bezier. Which is good. That's kind of how I have this working too. So what this is saying is basically we'll have two pairs of numbers, x1, y1, x2, y2. And then if there's another number, it'll be like the starting point of the next Bezier curve. I believe that's what that says. So if we look at this, we get C 3.307, and then we get that. So that's our first point. This is our second point. Ooh, and then this is our start point, which is not where we moved to. But this is where we moved to. Why? That makes no sense. So we move here, okay? Then we use that same point. And then these are, so this is point 0. This is control point 1. It's kind of backwards. And then this is control point 2. Which is a little weird. And then what? And then we get line. Okay, yeah. So see, this is what I was thinking. So basically, then we get a line, and that's using this as the starting point for this. So this would be a line from this xy coordinate to this xy coordinate. Interesting. What's also interesting then is how am I supposed to tell if a curve is a Bezier curve or if it's just like several curves following each other? Hence implicit line to commands. Well, okay, if a move to is followed by multiple pairs of coordinates, the subsequent pairs are treated as implicit line to commands. Oh, okay. So if you have an M followed by more pairs, that's line to. Okay, so I kind of misinterpreted the way this text is going. And then this basically just goes, final point is the first point. Okay, so what we'll do here is we'll say We know we're going to get at least one XY pair. And then we're going to get more stuff. So if command type equals, I guess we can just do a switch. So switch command type. Token type that. And what we're going to do actually is we're going to have like a curve too. Okay. So if this is a curve to absolute, I don't like this. Basically, we need like, what do we have to show for today's work? So far, nothing, but we're actually pretty close. We've got like the basic parser started and everything. And we almost have it working where it's actually like translating the path into a valid SVG object, but it's not quite there yet. Good news though, if I just run this, I wonder what'll happen. I think it's just going to error out. So if we just remove that. Okay, yeah. So we just get a bunch of unknown SVG commands. It looks like we are stuck though. If we pause, where are we stuck at? I'm guessing we're stuck in the while loop in here somewhere. Nope, we're not stuck in there. Are we stuck in here? We're not stuck in there. Are we stuck in parse number? No. Here? There we go. Okay, we're stuck in is white space. Skip white space. I'm guessing what I need to do is say if that equals that, break. Okay, so if we were to run this, I think what we're going to get is just a bunch of errors, and then it'll just go. You just had to pause the program to see where you're stuck. Yeah, but there's multiple threads running, and then it doesn't pause in the right thread and stuff. And it always annoys me having to like figure out that stuff. I don't know. Maybe it would have worked. It probably would have been fine. Unknown command type 0. Okay, so we go here, execute command. Why is it stuck in here now? Because 0 is error, isn't it? It is. Okay. If command type equals token type error, return. What does this do once we get to the end of file? Okay, so if is alpha, if is number. Okay, then what I'll do is say like else if parser info dot cursor greater than or equal to parser info dot text length -1. I guess we want to probably just do greater than. So I guess this. Return result dot type equals token type end of file. Okay, so that's probably all we needed. So now it should terminate at least, and we should get to the end. Also, parallel call stack. It's a great thing. You just had to. I've never seen parallel call stack before. I'll have to check that out at some point. Okay, so yeah, we basically just get like unknown commands because it's kind of breaking during the interpreting of it. But we have it started and it's going pretty good. And then we have this thing. So this is the what it picked up out of that. So it did create some sort of SVG object, but it's just not right. So it is kind of drawing something, just wrong. But hey, it's kind of working, sort of. It's a debug window like call stack, but shows all threads. That's nice. I'll have to check that out. Okay, so I will probably continue this off stream because the rest of the last little parts of this probably aren't going to be that interesting. And then, of course, we have to free that SVG object afterwards. But yeah, the last parts of this aren't going to be interesting. It's just going to be me kind of messing around with the spec and then writing some sort of interpreter that will actually like figure out, it'll probably just parse pairs of numbers until it hits the next command, and then it'll just put those into an array, and then I'll interpret those arrays as necessary. That array of numbers or vector 2s. So yeah, probably not that much more to this, but we've made really good progress. SVG spec is much more complicated than I thought it would be. But yeah, this thing is turning out pretty good though. Also, it takes a sec to check out, and you might really like it when debugging. So is it like, so we've got call stack down here. I guess it's over here now. So let me just swap this over real quick. Okay, so I got call stack here. Can I just do like parallel call stack or something? Or is it a window that I have to add up here? Window. Nope. View, debug, windows. Parallel stacks. There we go. Huh. Interesting. Yep, so that's my thread pool. Huh, that's really cool. I do like this. Thank you, Joe Mega. Debug, windows, parallel call stack. This is pretty cool. I'm constantly amazed by all the features in here that I had no idea existed, but that is really pretty cool. I wonder what these 5 threads are. Oh, it's just extra DLL stuff. NTDLL. Interesting. Cool. That's something I will definitely add to my list of tools. SE Woods, do you ever think you'll be able to work part-time and combo it with YouTube? Hopefully one day, but first I have to start actually making videos again. But I do think that potentially at some point. Is inflation felt in the States? Yeah, for sure. Gas is super expensive, and so is food and groceries. Like everything just gets more expensive now. Yeah. We'll see though. That's like distant future. I'm pretty happy with the way this has gone so far though. I also did add, you'll notice the text here, it kind of draws 2 letters at once now, which is kind of cool. It's just like doing some better interpolation. So you'll actually get like 2 letters being drawn. So like this letter's being drawn while this one's being done. And I don't really like how it's filling and closing it with that. I might change that in the future. It shouldn't be filling anything, but it is. Interesting. But yeah, so this is going pretty good. I am happy with the way this is turning out so far. SVG objects are almost supported. And then once they are supported, I can add math equations using this LaTeX object right here. And yeah, I'm pretty happy with this. Cool. Well, thank you guys for watching. Distant future sounds healthy, but not unlikely. Gas is super expensive. Americans complain about super cheap fuel. Yeah, I don't know how expensive it is in other countries. That is true. So, but yeah, thank you everybody for watching though. If you enjoyed, I'll be back probably next week or another 2 weeks. Ooh, $8 to $10 per gallon. Dang. Okay, maybe I don't have it as bad as Europeans. Then again, I do drive like 20 miles just to get to work. So it's like, I feel like in Europe, a lot of things are closer together because it's mostly cities, but I could be wrong on that too. I don't know. Anyways, though, guys, thank you for watching. I'll probably see you next week unless something changes, which I'll let you guys know in the Discord if something does change. But yeah, thanks for being here, guys.